We now explain the process view of the organization, a perspective that regards an organization as a system of processes, highlighting the sequence of activities that transform input into valuable outputs. As customers, we are particularly concerned with three major operational measures when it comes to evaluating a process: flow time, flow rate, and inventory. Flow time is the amount of time it takes for a product or service, referred to as a flow unit, to go through the process. For instance, at Subway, this would be the time it takes for a sandwich to be made from order to completion. Flow rate or throughput rate refers to the speed at which these flow units are processed. In other words, the rate at which sandwiches are made and handed to customers. Lastly, inventory, also known as work in process or stock, represents the number of flow units within the system at any given time. This could refer to the number of sandwiches being made simultaneously or the amount of ingredients on hand ready to be made into sandwiches. These measures collectively impact the customer experience, from the wait time to the availability of the desired product. Little's Law is a fundamental principle in operations management that defines the relationship between inventory, I, flow rate, R, and flow time, T. It states that the inventory in a system is equal to the product of the flow rate and the flow time. That is, I equals R times T. In simpler terms, the amount of work in process inventory is equal to the rate at which work is processed multiplied by the time it takes for a unit to go through the process. The law provides useful insights for managing operations. For instance, if the throughput is held constant, reducing the inventory within the process will correspondingly reduce the flow time, leading to faster service or production times. However, it is important to note that Little's Law applies under certain conditions. The unit used for I, R, and T must be consistent. The measures used are long-term averages, indicating a large sample taken during the observation period. The system is in a steady state, meaning that over the observation period, most of what came in has gone out. In a call center scenario, for instance, let's consider an average incoming call rate R of 11 callers per minute and an average call handling time T of 2.5 minutes. According to Little's Law, we can calculate the average number of callers I on the phone with the call center at any given time by multiplying the flow rate R by the flow time T. This results in I equals R times T equal 11 calls per minute times 2.5 minutes equals 27.5 callers. This suggests that, on average, there are about 28 callers, rounding up to the nearest whole number, being served by the call center at any given time. We now examine another example. In-transit inventory refers to the stock of goods moving from a supplier to a customer, which is yet to reach its destination. It is an important consideration in supply chain management and is particularly relevant when dealing with international suppliers. For instance, let's consider O'Neill, a California-based company that orders white shoes from a supplier in Thailand. They order an average of 15,000 white shoes per month, and the shipping time from Thailand to California is approximately 2 months, T. By applying Little's law, we can calculate the average in-transit inventory, I, as I equals R times T equals 15,000 white shoes per month times 2 months equals 30,000 units. This means, on average, O'Neill has 30,000 white shoes in transit at any given time. Inventory in operation management can be counted in 4 different ways, each serving in different purpose. The first way is in terms of flow unit, such as the number of white shoes, patients, tons of wheat, or semiconductor chips. This method is useful when focusing on one particular flow unit. The second method is in terms of monetary value, representing the total worth of the firm's inventory. The third way is in terms of days of supply, which signifies the average number of days a unit spends in the system, or the numbers of days the inventory will last at the average flow rate if no replenishment arrives. Lastly, inventory can also be measured in terms of turns, which represents the number of times the average amount of inventory exits the system. These various methods of counting inventory provide different perspectives and insights about the process and system efficiency. Days of supply is a crucial metric in inventory management that represents the T in the equation I equals R times T. It calculates how long the current inventory will last at the average daily flow rate, and is computed as inventory divided by average daily flow rate. The same concept can be applied to different time lengths such as weeks, months, or years. But it is important to keep units consistent when calculating. For instance, weeks of supply is calculated as inventory divided by average weekly flow rate, monthly of supply as inventory divided by average monthly flow rate, and years of supply as inventory divided by average yearly flow rate. In the case of O'Neill, the company has a 2-month supply of inventory on average. Inventory turns is another key operational measure which signifies how many times an organization's inventory is sold and replaced over a specific time period. The formula for inventory turns is 1/T, or R/I, where R is the flow rate and I is the inventory. This measure can be calculated for different time periods, yearly, monthly, weekly, or daily. But it is crucial to maintain consistency in units. For example, yearly turns is calculated as average annual flow rate divided by inventory. Monthly turns as average monthly flow rate divided by inventory, and so forth. In the case of O'Neill, their annual inventory turns can be calculated as follows. With an annual flow rate R of 180,000 units, that is 15,000 units per month times 12, and an inventory I of 30,000 units, their annual inventory turns comes out to be 6. That is 180,000 divided by 30,000. This value matches the result obtained when calculated as 1 over T, where T is the flow time, that is 2 months or 1 over 6 year, further validating the calculation. We now apply the data from Walmart in 2010 to illustrate how to calculate turns and days of supply. In this case, the cost of goods sold, COGS, is used as the flow rate, R, amounting to $304,657 million, while the inventory, I, is valued at $33,160 million. It is important to note that inventory is measured in the cost to purchase goods, not in the potential sales revenue that may be earned from those goods. By using Little's law, we can deduce that Walmart achieves an annual inventory turnover rate of 9.19, calculated by dividing R by I. This result signifies that Walmart's inventory was replenished over 9 times within the year. The days of supply, a measure of how many days the current inventory will last at the current flow rate, was calculated as 39.7 days. This is derived by dividing inventory by the average daily flow rate, which is $304,657 million divided by 365 days. These figures underscore the effectiveness of Walmart's supply chain management, as they are able to maintain low levels of inventory while achieving high turnover rate. This graph illustrates that Walmart's annual turns have steadily improved over the years, increasing from 3 per year in 1970 to over 9 per year in 2010. Concurrently, the days of supply have significantly dropped, reducing from approximately 120 days in 1970 to a mere 40 days in 2010. Let's explore 2 additional examples to illustrate how to compute inventory turns using data from 2010. For Compaq, the COGS was $25,263 million per year, and the inventory was valued at $2,003 million. By dividing the COGS by the inventory, we find that Compaq's annual turns were at 12.61. This means Compaq was able to replenish its inventory just over 12 times in the year. On the other hand, for Dell, with a COGS amounting to $20,000 million per year and an inventory value of $391 million, the annual turns could be calculated as $20,000 million divided by $391 million, resulting in an impressive 51.15 turns. This indicates that Dell was able to turn over its inventory more than 51 times throughout the year, which was significantly higher than Compaq's 12.61, and partially explain why Compaq was shut down in 2013. These calculations clearly highlight the differences in inventory management strategies between the two companies. Understanding inventory turns in retailing is essential as it directly links to inventory costs. Inventory costs can be calculated on a per unit basis using the formula per unit inventory costs equals annual inventory costs divided by inventory turns. For instance, if the annual inventory costs are 30% of the unit cost, and the inventory turns in a year are 6, then the per unit inventory costs will be 30% per year divided by 6 turns per year, resulting in 5%. This essentially means that for each unit of inventory, the cost is 5% of its value per turn. Hence, increasing the number of inventory turns can significantly help in reducing per unit inventory costs, improving profitability.